Hey, my friend, welcome back to Parenting A to Z. I'm Kelly Bourne, and this week I've got 10 different tips and tools and things to keep in mind to help boost up the kindness factor in your kids. Kindness is a really tricky thing, right? Because it's something that I think for a lot of us, we can take it for granted in our day-to-day lives until it's missing, right? Until our kids do something or say something and we're just like, oh my gosh, where did I go wrong? I'm raising a child who's rude and disrespectful and the world is ending, right? I think a lot of us, I know I can absolutely fall into that doom and gloom state when my kids say or do something that's just completely shocking, right? But I think it's also important to realize that we have those moments too, right? We have those moments and we have those days where kindness is a little bit hard to come by. So I think that's one of the things we need to keep in mind is cutting our kids some slack sometimes, recognizing that everybody does have bad days, but of course also recognizing it's something we can learn. It's something that through the way that we act and the way that we raise our kids, we can absolutely beef up that sense of kindness in their day-to-day life. So one of the first things I want to touch on is one of the really cool things of all the many things that are cool about our brains is that we're set up to catch the emotional responses of other people and to imitate them. So our kids literally, when they see us being kind, their brain is firing that that's something that they want to copy. So just notice and be aware that your emotions and your emotional reactional state, whether you're reacting or responding, that is contagious. And this is why modeling kindness is so much more important. I can't even underline this enough, but you modeling kindness in your day-to-day life is 1,000,001% more likely to increase kindness behaviors in your kids than you just simply saying, be nicer to your brother. Right? Because we catch what we see. We catch the emotional responses of other people. So us nattering on about them, about being nicer and being more disrespectful, they're just going to tune us out, right? They're just going to be like, yeah, okay, whatever, mom. But if we really are walking the talk, yes, is that right? Am I getting my reference right? If we really are walking the talk, that is the best model for our kids. So just keeping that in mind, modeling kindness in our day-to-day life, because it is contagious. It absolutely is contagious. And then the third thing is really, it kind of goes along with that, but avoid trash talk and gossip, because our kids are listening to everything. So if they hear us talking about Aunt Norma, or they hear us talking about our friends, or they hear us bad talking whoever, they hear all of it. So just be aware of that. Notice if you're gossiping, notice if you're trash talking. Something that goes along with that too is criticism. Criticism is tough, right? Criticism is tough. And chances are, if you are feeling like criticizing either your kids or someone else, there's absolutely a more constructive way to do that, to get your point across with kindness. So again, like, this is one of those muscles that as we want to develop it in our kids, it kind of forces us to develop it ourselves. So just pay attention if you've been gossiping, trash talking, criticizing, and minimize that as much as possible. Another really big one that kind of goes along with that, besides having our own awareness, is enforcing the rules of kindness in the home and not allowing our kids to constantly be nattering and name calling at each other and having certain words, or it'll be different for everyone. Like, I don't want to be the enforcer, the rule police here for your home, but just have an awareness of that in your own home. And if you're noticing that your kids are using rude or demeaning language with each other, and really working to nip that in the bud, sitting down at family meetings, talking about how we want to feel in this family and how we want to engage with each other and talk with one another, and what is absolutely off limits, and then enforcing those rules so your kids know that this is a safe place. Kindness is king, and there is no room for criticism or shame or blame or any of those like kind of like really deflating feelings. And then moving forward proactively, something that's really, really important that I think a lot of us can overlook sometimes is teaching our kids self-regulation skills. Because I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling hurt or wounded or defeated or deflated, I am not always responding with kindness, right? That can be when I can tend to put up walls and be defensive and want to hurt back or attack back. So teaching our kids self-regulation skills will be so key in allowing them to move forward, especially in those tough moments, with kindness. So to help you do that, I've got 2 great downloads below. There's one on beefing up your kids' emotional vocabulary, and another one is practical calm down strategies, just to help them when the going gets tough and they're having a hard time finding that kindness, especially when they're feeling really hurt themselves. And then something that is really fun, I know I'm smiling even thinking about it, but getting in the practice of practicing acknowledgements, not only within your own family. I know I'm always glancing at my kitchen table when I'm talking about my family, but whether it's within the family or even in public, at the mall or at school, having your kids practice giving compliments, noticing and acknowledging the good in others. And then the other piece of that too is they'll get to learn how good that feels, how good it feels to pay it forward, how good it feels to do a random act of kindness. And that feeling, that internal feeling, rather than us telling them what to do, that is the motivation they will have to continue doing it more. It's because it feels good. Not because they're getting a reward or giving them a sticker or you're gonna buy them an ice cream, but because it feels good. That is the best motivator right there. And in addition to practicing acknowledgements and random acts of kindness, is to get them in the practice of sending kind thoughts and sending warm wishes, because our thoughts have energy and our energy has power, and those feelings matter. And I know, like, a lot, I'm thinking of my family, we're kind of all spread out. Like, we don't have any family really close to us. And sometimes if somebody's going through something, or even if it's not in your family, like, I'm thinking, I'm totally dating everything right now, but just even with the Olympics, I can remember watching the Olympics and sending all my good power to our Olympic athletes when it was getting really down to the wire, and just hoping that they could feel that. Just getting your kids in the practice of sending warm thoughts to someone who's in the hospital, or sending warm thoughts to your cousin whose dog is sick when you can't be there. Really just practicing the act of kindness, even if it's not face to face, because I know it can be hard when we're all spread out all the time. Like, I'm sure I'm not the only person who's kind of spread out from close family and friends. But again, what that does is it gets them to focus on how good it feels to send those kind thoughts and warm wishes to people, even if they're not there right in front of us. And then lastly, something I just wanted to discuss really quickly as well is the idea of volunteering. Getting your kids in the habit of being in service and being kind to others where there is no expectation of anything in return. Because again, it really goes to build that internal motivation that I am kind and I act with kindness and I act with respect, because it feels good, not only for me, but also for the other person. And I want more of that in my life. So the more that you can build up that internal motivation and get them to see how good that feels to deliver kindness out of the goodness of their heart when they know there's no expectation of return. And that's where volunteering is a great way to do that. And of course, in order for that to be successful, it has to be their idea and their choice and what they wanted to volunteer for. So it may not be the cause that you have in mind, but letting your kids take the lead when it comes to choosing where they would like to volunteer is a huge way to beef up that sense of kindness. So I really hope that helps, guys. I know it's kind of a big topic, but first and foremost, if you want to instill a sense of kindness in your kids, you gotta be kind to yourself and treat others with respect. And because they'll see that and they'll copy it without even realizing, because it really is how our brain is wired. And just try to avoid gossip and trash talk and criticism, instead focusing on empowering others with kindness. Always leading with kindness and leading with love. And then some practical, proactive things you can do, of course, is practicing acknowledgements, practicing giving compliments, is volunteering outside the home, is getting in the practice of sending warm thoughts to people who aren't right in our immediate vicinity. And random act of kindness are a really great way to do that too. And it just feels good, doesn't it? So best of luck, guys, in instilling that sense of kindness in your kids. If you're looking for more in-depth parenting resources and support, make sure to check us out in the Parenthood, our members only parenting community. I'll leave all the links and everything below. But I think that's all for now, guys. Enjoy, be kind, and I'll see you in the next video.